This is Bougainville, potentially a country that could exist within the next few years. But where exactly is it? What is life like there, and which country does it currently belong to? Let's travel across the Oceania to find out. So we've now arrived in Oceania, Papua New Guinea specifically. In the far east of the country we have this island here, which is in fact Bougainville Island. It's found within the Solomon Sea, a little northwest of the Solomon Islands. But before we dig a little deeper, let's take a quick journey through the history of the island. So a guy named Louis Antoine de Bougainville was the first European to visit the island back in 1768, hence how it got its name today. Now, can you guess which European country took control of the island in the 19th century? I'll be seriously impressed if any of you know this. It wasn't the Brits, Dutch, Spanish, nor French. It was in fact the Germans. Germany held on to the island until after they were defeated in World War I, at which point Australia took over. Fast forward to 1942 and the Japanese took control. But by 1944 the US had pretty much taken it back. After the war, Bougainville went back to Australia's control. In 1975, Papua New Guinea gained independence from Australia and Bougainville became part of this new nation. Though not everyone was on board with this transition. In 1988, Bougainville declared independence, sparking a brutal civil war between the region and the Papua New Guinea government. Peace was finally made in 2001 and Bougainville was granted some self-governance. Then in 2019, they held a referendum for independence. Can you guess what percentage of people voted in favour? Maybe 70, 80 or even 90%? Nope, it was an overwhelming 98%. But why hasn't it happened yet? Well, the final decision has to be ironed out between Bougainville's leaders and the Papua New Guinea government. As you'd expect, it's a long and messy process, and some sources say it could be finalised as early as 2027. So the proposed country consists of two main islands, alongside many smaller islands and atolls, covering a total area of some 9,400 kilometers squared. That's around 2% the size of Papua New Guinea. If the region does eventually become its own independent nation, then it would rank as the 162nd largest on Earth, a little smaller than Lebanon but larger than Cyprus. So the two main islands are Buka Island in the north and Bougainville Island in the south, with the latter being far larger than the former. The capital city is Buka Town, which is of course found on Buka Island, sitting in the very south of the island along the Buka Passage. A body of water that is only around 200 to 300 meters wide that separates the two islands. The population of the region is around 300,000, which again, if it were to become its own independent nation, would rank them as the 174th most populated. So the country would be rather small in terms of size and population. So this would give the country a population density of around 26 people per kilometers squared. Coincidentally, this is the exact same as the Solomon Islands, its oceanic neighbour. The economy size of the region is very small, estimated at around 1 billion Papua New Guinean kina, which is roughly $250,000. This would rank the country as having the third lowest GDP on Earth. The main language groups on the island include the North, Central and South Bougainville groups, each with its own set of languages, some sources claiming up to 20. English and Tok Pisin are the main languages spoken across the region. Tok Pisin is also known as New Guinean Pidgin, which is an English Creole language spoken throughout Papua New Guinea. This is what it sounds like.
Emi stop long this place, na emi make him all kind hambak pasin.
So let's now move on to the geography of this potential new country. So as mentioned earlier, Bougainville sits in Oceania, the southwestern Pacific specifically. It's found roughly 1,000 kilometers east of Papua New Guinea's mainland. So the region generally consists of mountainous terrain, rainforest, pristine beaches and reefs, as well as volcanoes, the largest of which is Mount Balby, which is also the region's highest point. As you'd expect from an island sitting just below the equator line, the climate is very tropical with two distinct seasons, wet and dry. Traditionally, its economy is based on agriculture, with crops like cacao and palm oil being significant contributors. One particular place of interest is the Panguna mine, a copper mine found in the middle of Bougainville Island. When it opened in the 70s and 80s, it was considered one of the largest of its kind on Earth. Apparently there's 1 billion tons of copper ore within this mine, which if true, will be worth a ridiculous $8 trillion US. That's about the total economy of India and Japan combined. The mine has been closed since the start of the Civil War and has yet to reopen due to political and significant environmental degradation. Bougainville's towns and residential areas have quite a laid-back vibe to it, with a mix of old and new. In cities and towns like Buka, Arawa, Kita and Buin, you find small shops, markets and some government buildings. But the streets are mostly unpaved, especially in rural areas. Roads, as you'd expect, can get pretty rough throughout the region, especially during the rainy season. The houses range from traditional huts made with bamboo and palm leaves to more modern ones built with concrete and iron. While bigger towns have a few paved roads and larger homes, a lot of the island still feels quite rural, with simple living and a strong sense of community throughout. The people of Bougainville have quite a cool name. They are known as Bougainvillians. They are mostly Melanesian, but there are also descendants of Micronesian and Polynesian origin too. Of the 300,000 or so Bougainvillians, the vast majority are Christian, with the religion being deeply integrated into the daily lives of the people and the region. So this is what the potential newest country flag could look like within the next few years. The blue background is believed to symbolise the ocean, the black circle represents the people and land, and the white border stands for peace and unity. The traditional headdress in the centre highlights Bougainville's cultural heritage, and the 24 points reflect its districts. So that is the potential future country of Bougainville in a nutshell. Let's check back in 2027 to see if their wish to become independent actually came true. Like and subscribe for more geography content, and as always, thank you very much for watching.